Now that the NFL draft is over, it's time to turn our attention to the new season in fantasy football. We're looking at some guys' values that are changing drastically after the conclusion of the NFL draft. We got 5 guys we think their values are significantly changing post NFL draft. Let's get right into the action. First guy on our list is going to be Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Last season, in a 4-point passing touchdown league, Jalen Hurts was the number 9 quarterback in fantasy. And this is doing this with a Philadelphia offense that didn't look great at times. Yes, Jalen Hurts' passing efficiency wasn't great throughout the entire season, but his ability to run the ball landed him as a top 10 quarterback, even though he was a below average passer in the league. Now, draft day, the surprise trade of the first round, Jalen Hurts gets A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans in a trade, add him a number 1 wide receiver to go along with Devontae Smith, the wide receiver from Alabama. Now Jalen Hurts has an elite tight end, Dallas Goedert, 2 elite wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts has absolutely no excuses coming into this new season. With his ability to run the ball still going to be prevalent in this year's offense, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts has every single option available to him on this team. A lot of players to help guide this offense, keep drives moving, and Jalen Hurts put up even more fantasy points than he did last year as the number 9 quarterback in 4-point passing touchdowns. In that NFC East, where the division is very, very weak, yet again, we project this season, Jalen Hurts should have another great season and inch his way closer to that top 5 quarterback range. Jalen Hurts got a big boost after this NFL draft. The next guy I want to talk about is Antonio Gibson for the Washington Commanders, maybe our biggest faller after the NFL draft. Commanders already didn't want to give Antonio Gibson the full workload. They brought back J.D. McKissic. We know he's been a huge thorn in the side of Gibson fantasy managers, as he's not getting that third down work, that receiving game action like he saw in college at Memphis. So Gibson was already falling down the fantasy boards, but now that they add another running back in the 3rd round, Brian Robinson from Alabama, a huge power running back, that game kind of similar to Antonio Gibson. He's going to be those guys on second and short, 3rd and short, and even in the goal line to wear down these defenses, just like Antonio Gibson. J.D. McKissic's role is secure on this team. He's going to be that receiving back for Carson Wentz in this offense in passing down situations, late game situations, and 2-minute drill. Antonio Gibson really lost half his load to Brian Robinson, as he's going to be sharing that power back role with Brian Robinson. This coaching staff has shown that they do not trust Antonio Gibson to be that lead back, that power fantasy back that we wanted to see after his rookie season. So Antonio Gibson, with this new addition from the running back from Alabama, clearly Gibson is not going to be a workhorse running back that is drafted in the first 2 rounds like we saw a year ago. Antonio Gibson's stock is falling fast in fantasy and is not looking good with this coaching staff. Our next guy that we see falling down in his fantasy value pretty significantly is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, the slot wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions offense actually looks a lot better than it did at the end of the season last year. DeAndre Swift, TJ Hockenson, both dealing with some nagging injuries toward the end of the season. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was really a league winner for a lot of teams, able to put up elite production with Jared Goff at the end of this season. In the slot, really the only offensive option that was clearly healthy on that team. No reason to risk Swift and Hockenson health going down the season of last year, as they were due for a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. But in the offseason, Detroit Lions, they signed DJ Chark to a 1-year deal. He's going to be that alpha wide receiver for this team. And then the Lions trade up in the 1st round to get Jameson Williams, the wide receiver out of Alabama. Yes, he tore his ACL in the championship game, and he might be out of training camp and even a slow start in the regular season. But Amon-Ra St. Brown really made all of his money in fantasy at the end of the season, where every option was injured and or limited for that Detroit Lions team. And I don't see that happening this year. With the options they now have, DeAndre Swift's going to be healthy. They still have Williams in the running back. And DJ Chark is now going to be that number 1 wide receiver for this team. Yes, he's coming off an injury as well, but he should be good to go and Jameson Williams, when he is back, Amon-Ra St. Brown's targets and usage in this offense is going to be nothing compared to what it was at the end of the season. Amon-Ra St. Brown his draft stock has completely plummeted in this offseason, even more and after the draft, after they trade up and go get Jameson Williams, whose health is, all reports say, is looking extremely, extremely good, way ahead of schedule. A lot of people fell in love with St. Brown because he was so good for people in the fantasy playoffs, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be the case this year for the wide receiver out of USC. Still a solid slot receiver, but we know these slot receivers don't really have much fantasy value if they're not getting touchdown production in this offense, which might not come. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, a guy that we are fading coming into the start of the season. On the exact opposite spectrum of this, we have Hollywood Brown for now the Arizona Cardinals. Baltimore making a very surprising trade at the back end of the first round, trading Marquise Hollywood Brown to the Arizona Cardinals for a first-round pick. And I don't think anyone saw this coming. Lamar Jackson stunned on social media, not happy, not pleased with this move from the organization. But Hollywood Brown reunites with his college quarterback in Kyler Murray, a story that we have heard it had a lot to do with this move, chemistry between these two coming out of Oklahoma together. Hollywood Brown stock is increased significantly. You go from an offense dominated by the run game with Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards to now an offensive scheme with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray that's spread out, throw the ball all over the field, and rack up fantasy points and yards. So Hollywood Brown, this deal probably doesn't get done if DeAndre Hopkins isn't suspended for the first 6 games. So this is going to help Hollywood Brown get nice and acquainted in the offense the first 6 games, which that chemistry should last throughout the entire season. This team losing many, many targets from a year ago. We just noted DeAndre Hopkins out for the first 6 games of the season. Christian Kirk also departs this team for a huge contract in Jacksonville. There's a lot of targets, and Chase Edmonds out of the backfield also going to lose those targets. So there's so many targets available in this Cardinals offense, this air raid offense, very favorable to fantasy managers. And we think Hollywood Brown is the perfect wide receiver to go along with Kyler Murray, who has said he doesn't want to run as much as his health has tailed down with his running. So he wants to throw the ball more often. Hollywood Brown definitely going to help him do that. And we think Hollywood Brown's draft stock is very much on the rise with the DeAndre Hopkins move and going from a quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who is significantly more run heavy than Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray's offense, Hollywood Brown could be due for a monster breakout season. His draft stock is 100% on the rise in Arizona. On the other end of that coin, we have Rashod Bateman in Baltimore, losing his co-star wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, to the Cardinals, like we just talked about. Rashod Bateman, a rookie a year ago, only played in 12 games, missed the first part of that season with an injury, so came in a little hampered with that. A little bit of a slow start. Only ended up with 46 catches for 515 yards and a touchdown. So there's definitely room for improvement. This Baltimore offense lost Lamar Jackson at the end of the year. Backup quarterback Huntley actually stepped in and played very well for the team, but still Lamar Jackson, a different kind of player there, MVP caliber. Rashod Bateman, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens make this move unless they are extremely confident in Rashod Bateman's ability to step into that wide receiver 1 role for this team. Him paired along with Mark Andrews in that aggressively upgraded running back backfield now that J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are all coming back healthy. This team should not skip a beat on offense. You're not going to trade away one of your prize wide receiver assets if you're not very, very confident in the guys stepping into these roles. So Rashod Bateman is due for a sophomore year breakout with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews for this Baltimore Ravens team that is shown to be one of the most efficient offenses in the National Football League, moving the ball up and down the field with ease and getting into the red zone very, very often. So Rashod Bateman, definitely his stock is moving way up after Hollywood Brown clearing out from Baltimore. Rashod Bateman is definitely one of our favorite picks, sleepers at this point in the offseason. Rashod Bateman got a huge boost after draft day. But those are the 5 guys whose values are changing significantly post-NFL draft. coming into the fantasy football season. We thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week with another episode of the Fantasy Bird.